Hey guys, it's Will. So APLD has pulled back about 4% today after a historic run, and most data center stocks today are cooling off. We could see inside our daily live trading this morning, we were focused on some of the market pullbacks. We even played IONQ in the quantum market to capitalize on the downtrend. And also, let's pull up the APLD OpenAI analysis here. If you guys ever want the AI analysis, you can jump in to the first link in the description for the full details, or join us in our daily live trading session. That's the second link in the description, or access to this tool is in the first link in the description below. So as you can see, future chart analysis. We're looking at this breakdown of APLD. We have seen the markets pull back today, so we'll see kind of how it looks from the OpenAI perspective, but it's looking at the press releases, verifiable sources, and everything else. For APLD, we see them down about now almost 5% today and correcting here after a historic run up into $25 a share. We see them start to correct from that big hyper bull trend. So they made a run as high as $27 a share by September 22nd, and then we're pulling back down in that uptrend, and we're focusing on this previous resistance level at $20 to see if it would bounce there. It has bounced around that $20.50 range, and we're looking for them to potentially now recover. However, next levels here are up around $23 a share, so they still have to hold this $20.50 range. So if we see things work out good for them, we're looking at a move kind of like this. It's about a 7 to 8% recovery up into $23. Why would we be looking at a pullback? Well, why are we covering it bullish, and why is there potential pullback? The first thing to note is we've seen them really build their market cap from $3 a share, continuing up into the $16 range, pulling back down to $9, then running as high as $27. And now that we've seen them pull back, it's possible they continue to pull back down into that $17 to $20 range before continuing their uptrend. But there's a few things to note. The first thing to note about data center markets are they're growing extremely fast. And with APLD, they're looking to build the infrastructure for AI, and they are constructing data centers for the top companies in the world, with these AI data centers having liquid cooling strategically placed near energy sources and utilizing things like wind and hydroelectric energy and solar. And they have partnerships in their data center solutions with Super Microcomputer, which is a popular company that specializes in all the racking systems. And then they have partnerships with NVIDIA, Dell, Intel, Hewlett Packard, and many more. Now, some of the articles that have come out recently include data center constructions with price tags on these leases of about $7 billion. This deal was increased to $11 billion for CoreWeave. Here, you can see Applied Digital announces AI data center lease. That was a $7 billion deal. Then they had an announcement that they ended up increasing the level of infrastructure, and then another $3 billion here that are focused on this Polaris Forge 2 campus. So AI infrastructure, they're building them out here in North Dakota. It's a very cold place, and Applied Digital is up there. So why did we see some of those negative projections over the next day, but maybe some bullish projections over the next 3 or 6 months? I think if you look over the next month, APLD is actually projected to get up here into about $23 a share. Next 3 months is a 16% margin that it's looking, according to this model that we're using, OpenAI, inside of Mercatus. And you can see some of the reasons we talked about here, like resistance zones around $25 a share. That's going to be the next level to get to. 50-day moving averages, that's what we're talking about here, where they're kind of down to this moving average and potentially bouncing the support and continuing up here, and also having an overall uptrend. But when we look at what they have going for them, these are big deals. Part of why we see them pull back right now, greater market pullback. Okay, so most companies having a little bit of a correction today. When we look at the financials, it's important not to get scared about the next day, right? So again, we're looking at the analysis. It's kind of a good thing when you have an objective AI that can look at it, right? Where it says, oh yeah, it's down the next, day 1%, or the next 4 hours is most likely 3%. And pullbacks don't necessarily mean that's it. And most people, what do? They sell their stocks when their stocks go down. Um, and I remember the first time there was a big market correction when I was just getting into investing about 10 years ago. And I sold a lot of my positions, and I was investing in companies like AMD, like NVIDIA, and at the time it was Invisalign and some other like emerging tech companies. And I remember like everything just rebounded. And I didn't make the same mistake in 2020 and learned from it and ended up buying more. Same thing at in this year, you could see some positions where we're up, 60, 70, even 100 or 200%, which isn't even close to some of the investor gains that I've seen from people on the channel, or where we get some of the insights. For example, in Stock Meets is another place where we trade live every morning. People there are bringing insights. All the investors that are finding good tech stocks today are also contributing to our gains for sure. But like, we bought the dip. And so when you see pullbacks like today, you see the market, we actually get a little more excited when it's red. But another reason why Applied Digital could pull back, while the deals are good and we see a lot of notice being put out for this stock because of their focus on data centers that are powering AI, is that they also, their market cap's around 6 billion. They haven't seen those 11 billion or $3 billion deals reflect and show up in their income statement yet. So we're waiting to see. I don't know if it's next week. We're going to have some more earnings come out. This week, when we were looking at the earnings here, there wasn't a whole lot. There was Micron Technology, which we had this week in Stock Meet as earnings to focus on. But I think next week we're going to go back to some highly anticipated earnings. We're going to have some more companies to watch there. And we also are going to be going over some more defense stocks. There's a nice play, David. I'm going to check that out in a minute. But the financials, only about $30 to $40 million per quarter for APLD. So when they're bringing in, let's say, in some cases, 60 million, but really annually they're bringing in 150 million, that's not really justifiable right now for that $6 billion market cap. But with the deals they signed in this last quarter that haven't shown up in their next earnings, which might show up, it might show up when they report earnings, are exactly the steps that you want to look at when identifying value in the markets. Is what do we know about a company that later on might show up? And I think that's why, despite having revenue kind of stagnant and increasing year over year, but not by much, that they still see this massive surge up to $27 recently, is because of the deals that haven't shown up in the earnings report that will probably show up in the next week or 2 weeks. So aside from that, they also have their balance sheet looking good. They've increased it to nearly $2 billion in total assets, and their total assets are up 145% year over year, while their total liabilities are up 93%. So they're increasing their assets more than their liabilities, and that's always good. It means that they're on the right track. So again, seeing some pullbacks, we kind of expected it in the market. That's why we were doing some shorts earlier this week. Kind of a slow, little bit of a red Friday. And that's totally fine. It's actually really healthy in the markets. And we're going to look for more opportunities to not only make money on the way down or hedge against some positions like we did this week in our investing and trading, but also look for those buying opportunities. Look for the validation. Right now, there's a resistance here at $20 a share that it validated today, APLD. So we'll want to watch that level clearly. If they can't hold there, there's another support level down around 1975. We could see if that holds. But right now, we'll look at that $20 support. According to Mercatus, which I have been running off as the AIs are getting really good, and I'm noticing OpenAI, Grok, Claude, Gemini, I'm using them for different things. OpenAI I'm using for pretty long-term and just market direction. Grok I'm using for some of the short-term outlooks, as there's a lot of conversation on Twitter or X. Claude I'm using for more thoughtful fundamentals. Gemini, Google, we're using for big picture in the next 2 months, 3 months, and it's starting to come together. So again, if you want to learn how to use this system, first link in the description. If you want to join our daily live trading, it's the second link below. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts below on APLD. Drop them below. If I earned your thumbs up, hit the like button. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.